Hi and welcome back to our channel. 2 years ago, fed up with our awkward, cramped and makeshift chicken situation, we dreamed up a glorious new avian food forest, a huge space where our chickens and ducks could roam and forage, splash and swim and hopefully feel secure and happy enough to hatch and raise broods of new little chicks for us. We thought long and hard about what we wanted, how big this space should be, how to secure it and how to make sure both the chickens and ducks had a suitable environment. Now, a year and a half after finishing this project and living with it for a while, we're about to make a few changes. In this video, we're going to look at what's been working and what hasn't, and our first volunteer of the season helps us tackle one of our main issues. So one change or addition to the chicken food forest that I've been making is putting fine chicken wire around the bottom kind of 50 centimeters or so. It's taken me a while because this thing is just not that fun to use, really makes my hand hurt after a while, and there's a big area to go around. Anyway, the reason we're doing that is just because the gaps in the chain link fence are quite big, and just when we have little chicks and little ducklings and stuff, which we do have at the moment, just to stop them, you know, popping in and out. It's not perfect because we've still got the gaps under the doors, there's like the edges, it's really hard to absolutely close every single gap, but it does make a huge difference. We've also been putting logs around the bottom just to keep the chicken wire down at the edges and just to help prevent burrowing animals, foxes and things like that from potentially getting in. Anyway, my goal now is just to finish the final section of chicken wire around here, and then I can call it a done job. Do need to do the door as well, which has big gaps. I've got my final roll of chicken wire here. I had to go and get a little bit extra just to finish the job. So let's go and do that. Right, that's actually 3 sides done. Not 3 sides all bordered with logs, but 3 sides chicken wired up. And then I've just got this one long side, which is only half done. Oh, I cannot wait for this job to be over. Hello, Mrs. Brahma. Another change that we made this year was a deliberate attempt to increase the genetic diversity of our flock. Since we've had the same single rooster for about 4 years now, we decided it was time for some new blood. And we bought a variety of 3-week-old baby chicks and raised them under heat mats and then later on in our fruit cage until they were big enough to join the main flock. We now have Araucanas, Andalusian Blues, Silkies and one Ayam Semani, a pure black chicken which apparently even has black organs integrated into our flock. We also have a Brahma rooster and 2 Brahma hens, which are brilliant dual-purpose birds, great for meat and eggs, so we really hope that they will produce chicks for us as well. They are one of the largest breeds of chicken you can get, with roosters reaching as much as 8 kilos in weight, and they're also super friendly and apparently great incubators, meaning they will readily sit on their own eggs, which is a quality we were looking for. Meanwhile, we also bought 10 new ducklings this spring, since our duck colony had dwindled to just 4 individuals, and one of our existing ducks is also currently incubating a nest of eggs, so we'll see if we end up with even more ducklings soon. The Brahmas are so friendly, I love them. Wherever you are, she's always following you around. It's a good job we've got another rooster though, because that Brahma rooster is not very scary. As you can see, some of these old logs are absolutely teeming with ants. If I can bring myself to pick this log up and move it, then maybe the chickens can have a feast. This job was heavy work, but finally the last log was in place and the whole perimeter was now much better protected. Before we even finalised the plans for our chicken feed forest, we began by planting trees. We knew the rough area we were going to be using, and we knew we wanted a range of fruit-bearing trees in this space to provide shade for the chickens and also to provide a range of easy access fruit for them, at least throughout some of the year. So this is an apple tree. We did get some apples off it last year. I haven't actually seen it flower this year, and I don't see any sign of apples, so maybe we won't get any this year. I think we need to sort of train this a little bit if we want to get apples. We've got a lot of branches growing up. Maybe I need to like prune it or sort of tie these branches down or something like that. I will have to research about that. In the middle here we have a mulberry tree which has grown amazingly. It's enormous. Again, I need to probably prune that, but I'm just letting it grow as much as it can, make some shade at the moment. Mulberries, actually you can give them a really hard prune. You can take all of the branches off basically, cut them right back, and it'll sprout again, grow again, no problem. The leaves are actually edible as well. It could also be food for the donkeys. I don't know if the ducks and the chickens would want to eat them or not, but yeah, the leaves are edible. And then we have the fig trees also doing really well. We've got some figs forming. I think they're both white figs because we don't have any white figs anywhere else. And yeah, figs will be great because we can just knock them all onto the floor and the chickens can eat them there and then, which was the idea with the trees in here, you know, just easy, convenient food for the chickens. We have another white fig over here, which is a little bit behind, despite being planted at the same time as the other one because the irrigation was a bit blocked, but I fixed that now. So it's getting a nice water, and I think it's starting to put some new leaves on, so I think it's doing all right. And then over in this far corner here, we have a lot of jujube trees, and they are all coming up from, I guess, you can't really see it with the light, but just up there on the top terrace is the tree, the jujube tree, and these are all just suckers, I think. Well, not suckers, but runners, whatever you call them. Anyway, these guys in here are not, oh hang on, I was just about to say they haven't made any fruit, but they actually have. I've never seen these suckers make fruit before, but this one is actually producing something. So these turn dark red, and they're kind of like a cross between a date and a prune. I don't really like them, but I really want to train myself to like them because dates is something we can't grow here, and I would love to be able to replace dates with these things. Anyway, the good thing about the jujube is that they are prolific. As you can see, they're coming up everywhere just by themselves, and they're completely drought resistant. We don't have any irrigation on them, and they're doing just fine. So it's more for the chickens than us really, but very happy for this to be growing here. Another apple in here again. The other year this did make some fruit, but not much going on this year. We have an olive tree growing in here, which it's doing all right. Never really remember to come in here and prune this one, but it has got some fruit this year, so hopefully we'll remember to come and harvest it. We also have some big loquat trees around the edges of the chicken food forest. They're actually on the outside, but they're close enough that it's very easy to come and pick off the fruit and just chuck it over the edge. And then we have the peach tree, which is absolutely covered in peaches. Last year it had a lot, but this year it's really... Oh, that one's getting quite big. Yeah, I know it needs a prune. It's just got absolutely no shape to it, but I didn't get around to it in time this year. So yeah, this tree is doing amazing. It's crazy when you plant a tiny little tree and then before you know it, it's like it's got a proper trunk, you know. There's actually a heavy tree. I think it's kind of leaning a bit. Yeah, definitely leaning. A lot of fruit, a lot of branches on this side. That is my bad. I should have pruned it and not let it get so heavy. Anyway, I need to keep an eye on that, make sure it's not gonna snap any branches or anything. But yeah, crazy the amount of fruit we've got on here. So the main thing that we want to change in the chicken food forest is the chicken coop. There are a few issues with its design. We didn't do like exterior nest boxes, which is that's the major design flaw. That means that you have to get the eggs really quickly, otherwise they get dirty when the chickens like roost above them at night and the droppings fall onto the eggs. It also got a bit damaged in the really strong wind that we had earlier in the year. The roof is not really attached, it's kind of just sitting on there. So we've got lots of ideas for how to build a better chicken coop, probably a little bit bigger as well, hopefully a little bit more ergonomic to clean out and stuff. So yeah, we haven't fixed this one up because we're just going to make a new one. So today we are starting work on the foundations for the new chicken coop. And we have the lovely Charlotte with us. Where's she gone? There she is, our first volunteer of the season. It's going to be an elevated coop. We're going to have it about 1/2 metre off the ground. We have a plan. So we think it's going to go about here, but we have a few things going on here. We have the chicken coop kind of in the way. We have an IBC, which maybe we can move. It's empty, so that's fine. We have an apple tree here. I'd quite like to keep this tree alive. But I think it kind of has to go kind of here because it's near the door. I think we're going to need to move this that way and then see if we've got space here. I'll come at the front and try and... Okay. Well, there's a chicken in there. Sorry. Wait. Right. I think that'll do. The edge. That would put us like over there. Point? Or... Yeah. Yeah. After figuring out where we wanted the new coop to sit, we moved the IBC out of the way and began marking out the dimensions of the new coop on the ground. Since we want our new coop to be elevated, we needed to create 6 concrete footings to support the post holders, which will raise it up off the ground. So this is what we're working on here. The coop itself will be 1 metre by 2 metres in size, with external nest boxes coming off the long sides and a full-size door on one of the shorter ends for easier cleaning. It's nice for when they're far away. It's actually really good. No eggs today, but when they're in the far corner. We're going to go for our first hole. In between. Oh no, that's nice. And then we change our minds. Okay. And in some cases, technically, but everyone does it. Yeah. We continued digging out the 6 holes for the post foundations. So that the chickens wouldn't just scratch the earth back into the holes the minute we turned our backs, we carried it over to use around the pond. And I will show you what we were planning over here a little bit later on, because this job turned out to kill 2 birds with 1 stone in a very satisfying way. Eventually the holes were done and it was on to the next step. Alright, today we're gonna actually pour the bases, the concrete for the supports, for these things, for the posts. I can just prepare these if you want, put the screws in them and stuff. Whilst I prepared the post holders, Mauro and Charlotte measured out precisely where each post would need to be positioned, and then it was time to start mixing concrete.
Creo que muy seco. Trae un poquito de agua. No, ponemos entero ahí. No lo vamos a poner todo. Ahí está. Un lado del tubo.
Ponemos aquí en esta zona, ¿no?
After a hard morning's work, the first 4 supports were in place, leaving Charlotte and I just 2 more to finish off later that afternoon when it had cooled down a little bit more. We made sure all the post holders were level in the ground, but they aren't level with one another, and that's because we're going to use the same technique that we used when we raised the yurt up on its supports. And we're just going to cut the wood when it comes to actually putting the wooden supports in place, using a laser level to make sure that the top of all of the posts are even with one another. This is a lot easier than trying to level the ground and level all of the supports with one another, and it makes our job a lot easier at this stage. At the end of the day, all of the posts which raise the chicken coop off the ground will be slightly different heights by a few centimetres, but you won't notice that, and it makes the job overall a lot easier. So here are the post holders all in position, ready to start building. And now just let me tell you about a couple of other things that we are going to be changing in here. Okay, so the pond, although it looks very cute in my opinion, it's not quite working as we hoped yet. It's a 500 litre pond and I tend to refresh the water in it every day. I just open a valve and let new water like flow in and push out all the old water. Shush, I'm trying to talk. And we built this wicker dead hedge sort of fencing area around the outside of the pond, and the idea was when the old water kind of overflowed from the pond, it would overflow out of the edges and like into the area around the pond as you would expect. However, the pond is slightly at an angle, just badly installed, and it actually overflows more down this way, all out of one corner, and the water just goes to the mulberry tree, which is great for the mulberry tree, but not great for the things that I wanted to plant inside this like dead hedge area. So anyway, the soil inside the dead hedge area was like really dry and compacted, and it wasn't great for planting in. So that is why we refilled it with all of the nice soil that we got out of the holes where we put the post holders. So we've raised the level of the soil in there a lot more. It's a lot fluffier and nicer now, so I could plant into it now. However, now that we have so many ducks, I think I need another method for like refreshing the water, at least every now and then, because the water does get quite dirty with ducks. So I think what I'm going to do is try and create some sort of bucket on a stick that I can use to scoop out like the very bottom bit of water and the sludge. And with that bucket on a stick, I will tip the water onto the trees that I'm going to plant around in the dead hedge area. And my original idea hopefully will work, just with a little bit of a modification. The trees that I'm going to plant here will make some nice shade for the pond, help reduce evaporation, and just some nice shade for the chickens and the ducks. And all the rich duck pooey water will get sloshed onto those trees. So that's kind of the system I was imagining. Anyway, I'm not going to plant anything there now because it's way too hot to be planting trees, but in the autumn I would like to plant a range of trees at like different heights, different canopy levels around this area. I'm thinking maybe a poplar to get really tall and make a lot of shade, and I'm not sure what to plant underneath, so if you have any ideas I'd love to know. But yeah, that's the pond situation. We're still working it out. Another thing I would like to change is the way that we've got the trees protected. We did originally put like just some chicken wire barriers around them when they were really small to keep the mulch and the compost and stuff in and try and keep the chickens out. And that did kind of work. It worked long enough for the trees to grow and become kind of resistant to chicken scratching, but it has all kind of fallen down and got trampled now. It's not really serving any purpose. There are chickens underneath all of these trees all the time. And I think what I want to do, sorry, the chickens are laying their eggs, so they're being very noisy. I think what I want to do is take out all of this chicken wire stuff and actually use like some big logs around the roots of the trees just to protect the roots from scratching. I think that is all the trees need now, just a little bit of protection over the root area, and I think logs will be a more like durable way of doing that. I think we also have some gaps in here as well which we could fill with some more trees, particularly right at the corners. There's no reason not to put a tree right in the corner. We've got the space, so that's another change that I think we're going to try this autumn. Then we've also had a few questions about the chicken tractor, so I thought I would just answer those here as well. It has been working well for us. We're not really tractoring it around now in summer because there's not a lot of fresh grass for the chickens to eat, and it's actually empty at the moment. More than anything, we've been using it as a way to separate chickens when we need to for whatever reason. Now we don't have anyone separated, so it's empty, but it's been extremely useful for that. I would recommend anyone building a chicken coop or enclosure to definitely have a way to like separate particular birds if you need to. That's been brilliant. I would just make 2 changes to its design, and now that it's empty, maybe it's a good chance to do that. Instead of this like classic chicken wire stuff, which is a bit flimsy, a little bit gets bent, very quickly starts to look a little bit messy, I want to put this kind of, I think this is like galvanized mesh stuff. It's much more solid, much more rigid. I want to put that everywhere. And it also needs some sort of like door that can be shut into the coop area, so that if we need to catch a chicken, we can just entice it into that area and then shut the door down. Those are the main bugbears we have with it, but apart from that it's fine. Maybe a few other little things, but nothing major. So yeah, we have a few things to work on still with the chickens. Now the posts are in, we are very excited to start work on the chicken coop. I think that's going to be a really fun build. We're excited to work with wood and try and build a beautiful, functional chicken coop. Anyway, that's all for future videos. That's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.